Going to do a comparison here of two of the most prized shortstops in the upcoming draft, both college guys, in Dansby Swanson of Vanderbilt and Alex Bregman of LSU. Swanson is projected to go number 2 to the Astros in the latest Baseball America mock draft, and Bregman number 7 to the Red Sox in the same mock draft. And they are very comparable defensively, both plus defenders, and bring unique skill sets to the offensive side of the game that we're going to go over here. So let's say that everything is equal in their defensive ability, and scouts will say that they're very, very close. And we're going to do a mechanical analysis of both of their swings to show if their swings will transfer to the big league level. Now keep in mind, there's more than mechanics that create the makeup of a hitter and determine his ultimate success. This will be a fun comparison to do to look at each of their positives and negatives from the mechanical side. First, on Swanson, in a recent Baseball America article, Clint Longenecker was quoted in saying that Swanson is the right-handed hitter that has a quick, loose, line drive-oriented stroke that produces hard contact to all fields. He has a chance to develop into an above-average hitter and flashed power to his pull side. And the loose comment from Longenecker is what resides with me, and I think that's the strength of Swanson's swing. It's loose, it's whippy, and it can create a lot of natural bat speed. When you watch Swanson here, you can see the flow that I'm talking about. As he goes into his negative move, he's working in and out, very pendulum-like, in his lower half. And you can see how that looseness in his upper body, the scapular resistance of his hands going back against the forward momentum shift, allows him some adjustability late on pitches where he can decide to hold up if he wants to and check his swing. So it allows him to see the ball a little bit better and gives him more adjustability for pitches with movement or that are off speed. And it's this sequencing that gives Swanson surprising power despite his size. Very, very efficient with the body as he tightens the spring from the legs through his lower back and into his upper back through a sequenced loading process. But this is what exploits a few of Swanson's flaws. And here, you see him in an overload position. He has that pendulum-type load where he shifts in and out in a fluid motion, but at no time should this rear knee get over the ankle. When it does, what you often see is an excessive push-out as the hitter tries to get back to center, and he leaks into his front side. It just makes him a little less grounded, and his weight is forward of center, which is a slight leakage of power out the front side as well. Here you'll see Swanson shift to center, but one criticism I have on him is I feel like he's a little bit up on stilts. You see slight bend in his knees, but not real good pressure into the ground. In the swing starting from the ground up, we want to get that inertial burst from the legs from a grounded position that you'll see Bregman do really, really well. That's the strength of his swing, which you'll see here in a minute. But Swanson doesn't stop at center, and here you can see him drifting into his front side. Again, a slight power leakage that forces him to have to hit slightly with momentum. So the more energy a player has in his front side prior to rotation, the more you'll see that backside skip off the ground and forward. So he does have excessive skipping here as he has too much momentum, not controlled as well by the body, and getting into his front side early. So my final thoughts on Swanson is I really, really like his synchronization and whippiness. I think this is going to allow him to make the adjustment to higher level pitching much easier. And the issue of getting grounded into his lower half is not a difficult adjustment. He just needs to get into his legs more, and you're going to see that his power numbers will actually increase. Now, it's going to be from aluminum bat to wooden bat, but I think projecting-wise is what the scouts are doing right now. If he gets this issue corrected, you're going to see a little bit more of a spike in those numbers than what even the scouts are suggesting thus far. And the fun thing about doing a comparison between Swanson and Bregman is the strengths of either swings are exactly what the weaknesses that each one of them have as well. So Bregman is super strong in his lower half, kind of a Dan Uggla type player is my comp to him, but he is very, very stiff as well. Where Swanson, with his looseness, his whippiness, the rhythm that he creates, is what Bregman needs to find some of to give him a little more adjustability and still increase his bat speed. In the same Baseball America article that I referenced earlier, Longenecker continued about Bregman. He said he had something of an uneven summer, beginning very strong and routinely hitting the ball hard before finishing his time stateside by getting tied up inside regularly. Evaluators said he struggled when he became too pull-oriented and tried to lift balls, rarely using the opposite field. And there's a reason for this, that the scouts have mentioned it, and I'm going to show you in the mechanical analysis of why he gets so many more hits to the pull side, because his swing is built that way. And where Swanson was very loose in his stance and his rhythmic approach, Bregman is just the opposite and extremely stiff. This stiffness takes away some of the body's natural whippiness, where he has to use brute strength to create his power. What you'll see with him is a two-piece load, an early hand load, where his hands go back with his lower body load. And this is part of the problem that takes away some of the natural whippiness you get with correct sequencing. When the lower body and upper body load at the same time, then the only thing that he can do is use a forward push, or again, just use sheer strength in order to power the baseball. As you see him separate and walk away from his hands, he gets very strong in the lower half. Again, this is the opposite of what we saw with Swanson, where he was a little more upright and not in his legs as well as I would like. Bregman gets down into his legs, and that's what creates the initial power burst extremely well in his swing. But as he walked away from his hands, you're going to see the hands push out towards this camera view. So now his bottom hand is closer to this camera than his elbow, meaning if you're looking from the pitcher's view, the hands would be outside of the elbow. And this creates a sweeping, pulling type action in his swing. So the reason why that the scout said earlier that he flashes power to the pull side but seems pull happy is this bat is going to take a path that goes off his front hip and doesn't stay in the zone as long as he would like. It makes it very difficult to power the ball to the opposite field. So kind of a sweeping bat path that's cutting off his front side. But looking here, this is a clinic in how to use lower body to power a baseball swing. You can see how the rear leg is driving the hip chassis open, pulling his hands into the connection point. You do see the sweeping action of the bat, but in terms of just lower half driving the baseball, Bregman does it exceptionally well. So you can see these two hitters have very different strengths and weaknesses. I do like Swanson a bit better because I think his sequencing is going to allow him a little more adjustability to higher level pitching. And with Bregman just using sheer strength to be the hitter that he is, he's going to have to get more efficient mechanically to have success at the next level. However, the lower body that Bregman demonstrates is what I'd like to see Swanson do a bit better.